yellow, red,
gray, white, red, blue, white,
purple, yellow,
red,
White.
red, blue,
purple,
blue,
yellow,
White.
red,
yellow,
Green.
blue, white,
red,
red,
White.
yellow,
blue,
red,
white, red,
red,
blue,
White.
yellow,
White.
With this piece, I want to ask you, do you love yourself?
Does it ever feel draining to go in and out of the same loop? The never-endless loop that we call a daily schedule. Every moment filled to the brim with responsibilities and to-do lists, whether it be attending class from 9 to 5 or holding down a draining and intense job. All that in between other tasks that require my attention and my time.
I live in a world that has no time for grand musical numbers, no time for big character arcs and expressions, where joy itself is an event to be planned and scheduled. I find myself aching for the dramatic dress-up session.
I think I'm infatuated with my stuffed animal. I believe that although he cannot talk or speak, he cares. The way he listens to my rants, tears, and laughter without judging, just listening, makes me feel wanted, cared for, loved. He consumes all my thoughts, tears, and makes them pure and even innocent.
How do I write a letter to you? Your dearest friends, when I was you, were not the tactile human relationships that one develops with a person in reality, but were still close personal friendships that helped us fight the gray and allow color back into our world.
For me, at least, my grandma's house is a place I find my stillness and peace. A place that lets me be myself, brings me back to my inner child, a form of escapism that I find myself even till this day going to.
Overall, video games were a way to temporarily dodge my issues at the time. The feeling of putting time into beating missions like Cortana, Halo, Salvo Highway, etc., I felt great. When finishing the campaign, I decided on moving to Forge. Forge was, and still, is a way to create new modes, custom maps, and videos.
Stillness surrounds a child whose gaze is fixated on the fuzzy, sometimes hardly visible, yet enchanting screen. A beautiful fairy tale presented on the screen of an outdated TV. The kind that you give a good whack and it turns back on.
I'm old, but I still play dress-up. Dress up as a student, a professional, a normal human being, and anything else that the world requires.
Just like the Disney magic that made me feel like a princess as a little girl.
Who am I? Who am I playing right now?
In my heart, I was a princess, loving, happy, and content.
Truth be told, I wouldn't have signed to my story on draft day if I knew all that needed to be seeked had been sought. If I knew that there were no surprises, and if I knew of a life clearer than my trust that the sun still shines for us.
To me, anxiousness is yellow and purple. It is nauseating and overwhelming. In a way, the world shakes as you just have to sit and watch. Staggered and uneven, leaving you vulnerable and bare. So, as a student trying to survive in a world that leaves people exhausted and anxious, complementary colors and flowy movements are what makes my comfort so absorbing.
Bright colors, big scenes, loud music.
Neon colors clouding your thoughts, messing with you, making you question who you are. Bright annoying yellows, greens that strike you, letting you feel unease. The loud song with a beat that unsettles me, making you feel lost and alone.
The main issue in my life at the time was being alone, even with siblings and friends outside of school. For several years of my life, I was somewhat good at masking the main issue I had.
The thief of my joy, the end to my pure, peaceful nature, was my self-doubt, and it changed everything for the worse.
There was something about the little girl with the strange brain and the red ribbon in her hair that made us feel like we weren't different, like there was someone out there just like us.
As I reach a state of peace, I am reminded what I long for, to wake up in a new reality, something out of a classic fairy tale that I dreamed of having when I was younger.
My favorite show, Fairy Tale, is filled with imagination and colors. The art and characters complement each other in a way that makes me feel warm every time I watch. I find myself going back to my show because it's a time where I can de-stress and connect to characters who move through journeys similar to mine.
And you found solace in that.
But there's also a deeper appreciation. These characters remind me how dress up used to feel. The Tracys, the Marias, they all knew no shame, no bounds. Love, joy, and passion bursted through the screen. They were themselves times 10, and their lives improved because of it.
When quarantine started and ended, I thought about the main resolution of talking to myself mentally. When I decided to talk to myself mentally, I felt free.
You know, sometimes I wish I could go back to being you. 7 years old with your nose in a book, finding yourself and safety in those characters. And maybe that's what makes writing this letter so hard. Why I can't watch or read Matilda without it making me feel small, that nostalgia breeding a sadness.
Because although time passes and people change, the memories and things an object projects, consoles, or absorbs don't. Please take care of Eeyore and make blissful childlike memories with him, just like I did. He will listen and be there for you when you need him the most.
The only part that makes sense is that it's beautiful because it doesn't make sense. So let the dust settle on the picture frame. It makes the memories surreal. One for the kid in me, one for the dreamer, one for the believer, one for the overachiever, and one for the peacekeeper. High five. No matter the stride, I wear my hair barrettes like a necklace to remind me to let the kid in me be reckless.
But I guess I never had to stop. I just have to remember the character I want to play.
You are more than your ideal self. You will prosper in plural. So step back and admire that mural.
So now I search for the experiences and precious moments that give me life. And from the glimpses that return me to the endless joy I once knew, I learned to heal.
So I ask you again,
How do you process these things? What brings you this comfort? Brings yourself to a better version of what you want.
Do you love yourself? If not, then why? Even when you're so blossomy.
This is my villain, I overcame. This is my triumph, my victory reigned. This is what I really needed, not what I wanted. This is what I learned, and now I may say I appreciate, 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 I appreciate.